This may look like an ordinary laptop, and well, I guess to be fair, it mostly is, but pick it up and you realize why this one is special. It's the world's lightest 15-inch class gaming laptop. Now, while being the lightest is nice, it's the fact that this also comes packed with some of the most powerful mobile hardware available and stays cool and we'll call it relatively quiet while in operation that makes this package unique. So let's see why the Mag-15 from Eluktronics is able to do all this and still come in at a relatively low price.
Introducing Thermaltake Tough RAM DDR4. Are you a man? Does your wimpy computer need more memory? Do you also like speed? Tough RAM is built for you. Tougher than that steak you cooked and faster than your sister on prom night, Tough RAM is available in 3600 MHz kits and is optimized to take your PC from girly to gnarly. Also for women, because we don't discriminate. Check out the links below to learn more.
I've worked with Eluktronics in the past on several occasions. They first sent me their Mag-15 G2, and while it was a great value for the money, it had some quirks that I wasn't really a huge fan of, namely the keyboard layout, the up-the-nose webcam, some unnecessarily sharp edges around the body, and although it was still fairly thin, it was noticeably chunkier than its competitors like the Gigabyte Aero 15 and the Razer Blade. I then took a look at the Mag-15 with an RTX-enabled hardware upgrade, and while of course this was a stronger performer, it didn't change any of the physical properties of the laptop itself. Well, this right here is something completely new and different. Meet the Eluktronics Mag-15, and it's the Mag portion of the name that you should be paying attention to. This chassis is made out of a super light and sturdy magnesium alloy. In fact, it's both lighter and stronger than the aluminum used in most laptop construction. The entire chassis was designed in cooperation with Intel in order to facilitate cooling and quiet operation, as well as reduce overall footprint, height, and weight. And the overall result is quite impressive and a massive departure from the mech chassis. The Mag-15 retains maybe the best part of the previous generation's laptop lineup, and that's this 144Hz IPS 1080p screen. Of course, higher resolution displays exist, but in a laptop, I still think 1080p is the right choice for most people, unless maybe you're doing professional photo editing on the go. The screen is bright, colors pop, viewing angles are pretty good with little color shift, and tearing is absolutely minimal with the high refresh rate, enabling gaming that's really enjoyable. There's also good color uniformity left to right, and I didn't notice any obvious bleed from around the edges. Those edges are rimmed by a thin bezel on the sides and a slightly larger one at the bottom, which is pretty common in laptops, but down here we don't find the webcam. Instead, thankfully, it has been moved up to the top of the display where it belongs, and although this is still a relatively muddy image with mediocre clarity and just okay sound, at least your Skype partner won't just be staring up at your nose hairs now. But as I do with every laptop video, I'm going to beg vendors to just get the same front-facing camera that cell phones used like 4 years ago. Go harvest them out of an old iPhone 6 or something. This is still just a weird thing to have in 2019, a 720p webcam that looks like it was smeared in Vaseline, when our phones are capable of 4K 60. The main body of the Mag-15 is again completely redesigned. No more sharp edges here, and that's great to see as the chassis now features a matte black finished top plate that feels grippy and doesn't show fingerprints at all. The edges are neatly and tightly rounded off, and it tapers down towards the bottom. Connectivity is excellent, and as a Blade owner, I have to say I'm actually a little bit jealous. 3 USB 3.0 Type A ports are available for connectivity along with a Thunderbolt-enabled USB Type-C around the back. There's also an HDMI out, an Ethernet jack, separate headphone and mic plugs, and an SD card reader. The only thing really missing here is a zip drive. The keyboard also has been drastically changed as we no longer have to deal with the entire thing being off-center due to the inclusion of a number pad at the side. The keys are a good size and nicely spaced, although I did find myself making slightly more typos than usual, and I wasn't quite sure why until I watched Dave 2D's video and realized that he's right. There's nothing dividing the keys like there is on the Blade, so it is much easier to accidentally press a neighboring key. Still, with a bit of training, it's not hard to get used to, and the mechanical feel of the keys is satisfying. If you want more information on the mechanical key switch, go check out my previous video on the mech. It's basically the same thing. The glass trackpad underneath the keyboard is again a much better implementation than on the Mag-15, as it's centered underneath the keys and made of a smooth feeling glass. It's maybe a tad smaller than on the Blade, but still large enough to be perfectly functional and has excellent palm rejection, actually better than my Blade. The internals are top notch on my review unit, and performance has been pretty great so far. The i7-9750H is a 6-core 12-thread workhorse with a base clock of 2.6 GHz. It does boost up to 4.5 GHz, but to be honest, I found those occasions to be pretty few and far between. When running Cinebench, the clock speeds originally hover maybe in the mid-high 3s, but as we get towards the end of the test, all cores are pretty much locked at 2.8 GHz. For a mobile chip, this is still fine, and to be fair, this likely also contributes to the excellent thermals that I saw during stress test as well. I've used laptops in the past where under load CPU temps were hitting 90+ degrees, and that was far from the case here, as the package temp sat around 70°C with individual core temps in the 60s. GPU thermals during stress were similarly excellent, topping out around 74 Celsius while looping Unigine Heaven. Granted, this is the Max-Q version of the RTX 2070, so of course it's lower power than the desktop variant, but still, for 1080p gaming, it's way more than enough, as evidenced by some of our benchmarking results. For Unigine Heaven at ultra settings, the average frame rate was 123.5. Shadow of the Tomb Raider at highest settings averaged 75 FPS without DLSS enabled. Far Cry New Dawn at high settings gave us 90 frames per second, and the most difficult game to run, Metro Exodus, showed 47 FPS at ultra settings in the punishing canned benchmark, which would translate to probably 60+ FPS in-game. Cinebench repeatedly spit out scores of between 2300 and 2400, which is on par with a desktop class Ryzen 5 1600 or Intel i7-7700K. However, the Mag-15 also comes with a control center that allows you to enable something called Electro Boost mode, where it ramps the fans much more aggressively, and this resulted in Cinebench scores around 2800. Clicking the button in that control center that says benchmark mode just blasted the fans at 100% all the time and gave me Cinebench scores around 3000. Although the noise coming from the laptop at that point is pretty untenable, and you should not expect to use it like this at all if you value your hearing. I did measure sound while under stress, and in the normal gaming profile in the control center, which is how this ships and how most people will likely use the laptop, the audio profile was actually pretty good. Under Electro Boost mode and then into finally benchmarking mode, you're talking up into the 50s as far as decibels go, high 50s, almost 60 decibels, and that's just not something that you want to deal with. So I would just stick to the normal gaming mode. The performance is still pretty good, and you definitely get an acoustic benefit out of it. Overall, the Mag-15 is a marked improvement in almost every way from the previous Eluktronics laptops that I've tested. The hardware has seen a significant bump, as you now have a faster hexa-core processor and a more powerful RTX 2070 GPU. The chassis is lighter, thinner, more ergonomic, and made with a material with better texture and fingerprint rejection. The keyboard is better centered and better spaced, and the trackpad is also excellent. Plus, the nose cam is now gone, thank God. Overall, a really compelling package that runs cool and, I guess we'll call it, relatively quiet for a gaming laptop. Maybe magnesium is the way to go moving forward if these products are going to continue to evolve into more portable gaming solutions. This one gets the Indie Award as an editor's choice. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Eluktronics Mag-15. Get subscribed and hit that like button if so. Check out the links down below to the merchandise store. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.